5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to 4,000 and Counting. I'm Watty, this is Mark, and we are very happy to announce that we are still being sponsored by Hurricane e-bikes. Check out the brand new ad later on in today's episode. We'll be pumping their tires quite literally. But before we get into that, we're going to talk about what's been going on. It's roundup time. So NIHL's been busy. We've got new teams, we've got new owners, new GMs, new players. And then in the Elite League, it's mainly returning players, but big-time guys going back to their clubs. So we'll start in the Elite League. And the news that Joey Martin is one of Pete's first signings.
Solid.
You
Say no more.
Yeah, you know exactly what you're getting with that guy. He's a weapon. He's dangerous in the offensive zone. He's very, very good in the defensive zone as well. Just an all-round proper player.
Just what you want, isn't it? Great re-signing by Pete. So, you know, that's his first. Is it his first signing, or am I being really stupid?
Well, it's the first signing announced since he's taken the head coach's role. I imagine that since he signed his deal, behind the scenes, he's been getting all these bits and pieces done. It's just the first one that's come out in public. And what signing to get Pete off and running. I'm really intrigued to see like the 3, 4, 5 new guys that he brings in, and what those pieces are, and if that's going to be the difference in getting the Devils over the line next year.
Agreed. Solid piece, solid addition, and he knows the setup well. And yeah, I think they're going to be good, aren't they? They've got their Brit Pack signed.
There, yep, Brits are done. Yeah, they call Joey Martin the GOAT down in Cardiff. So, I mean, I think that's a big part to Wally, because Wally spray painted GOAT and Martin on himself and then went to a game because he's a fucking beauty. But yeah, like very, very good signing. A couple of other big re-signings Guildford have made. Brett Ferguson, Captain Fergie, is back for another 2 seasons. Love what he brings. His point production was fantastic last year. Plays with an edge, willing to drop the gloves if he has to. And yeah, just a really good signing. And Lalonde is back on the back end.
You spoke about him last season.
Yeah,
off air.
Was great. Thought he was really good. He can quarterback a power play. He can skate with the park. He can shoot the park very well. He's agile, big, strong boy. I'm very impressed with those 2 re-signings from Digger. What about you?
Yeah, Ferguson's part of the furniture there now. He's really cemented his place.
Oh, he's going for the testimonial
with the fans.
He's going for the fucking testimonial for shoresies.
And you know, when we've interviewed Flames players and also other players have spoke very highly of him and just said like what a great addition he is.
We need to reach out and get him on, because every time we do an interview a Flames player, they're like, "Yeah, you should interview Fergie," and we're like, "Yeah, we're gonna do it." And then I got ADHD, so I forget and never message him. But there's a promise to you Flames fans that are watching along. We're going to send Fergie a message. So let's see about getting him on this podcast and shooting some shit with him. But Lalonde as well. What a signing.
Yeah.
2 very good pieces. Guildford, we haven't done a video about it. We talked about whether to do one about the Continental Cup and the fact that the Flames pulled out and the Steelers withdrew their interest and the Devils have now taken the spot for the UK. Now, Guildford put a very, very well-worded press release out. And the long and the short of it is, try and give you the cliff notes, but basically they're saying they want to be able to compete in the domestic competitions first. They haven't won any Elite League silverware. They were the closest they've been last year. They feel like they're in a window where their opportunity to win is now. And with the Continental Cup being in November and January, and everyone that knows how the Continental Cup works, there's generally 4 teams in one location, and they play the games. The top 2 teams then go on, and the top 2 teams go on from the other group, and they play in the January. Now, Guildford is saying they wouldn't be able to utilize the fact that, well, they wouldn't be able to utilize the rink because they would need access to pretty much the full spectrum for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it's just not going to happen. Just not going to happen. Which you then have to play all them games on the road. You lose Saturday home fixtures, which you then get put to a midweek. all of a sudden that brings the finances down because not as many people turn out on a midweek game.
Yeah.
And you're obviously then having to cough up all the money to go. Whereas if teams were coming here and you had some home gates, at least in one of the rounds, that would pay for the other round.
Exactly.
But as it stands right now, you're kind of on a loss to nothing really. So it does make sense. And Simsy put out a tweet. I think you liked it or you commented on
Yeah,
it.
definitely. You've got people have to understand that. I know seems a bit of a kick in the balls. Oh, Sheffield, they're a huge club and this, and I'm not a fan of Sheffield. They've done some cool things, but I've got nothing against them. I'm just very neutral with them. I'm not going to pump their tires all the time though. But they've got an arena which is committed to holding a lot of big events, and I'm talking, we're talking.
Like,
no, that's just a joke, like.
No,
but they're getting
like that kind of people, like
huge artists, and you can't just say, "Sorry, Beyonce, we're going to cancel you because the Steelers have got a game on." It's just not going to happen, is it?
Steelers are playing Rouen. Fuck off. Get out. See you later. Get out of it. Yeah, it doesn't really work, does it? I think. No. Obviously, the Champions Hockey League, everyone's making the argument of why. If you're in the Champions League, I bet you wouldn't turn down the space. Well, that tournament's in fucking September. Like, that's pretty much, you've said it off air. You've probably even said it on air at stages. Some of these European teams use that as a fucking warm-up for their season.
Yeah.
You look at the guys they've got in that CHL roster, and then you look at who's there in November. It's not the same team.
Just the lines as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
lines change.
They mix the lines. That the fourth line's the top line and stuff like that. I saw it for myself.
Yeah, we've spoke about this where, some of these teams in Europe, don't get me wrong, as the competition heats up and you get into the knockout stages and stuff like that, yeah, and nobody's not trying. I'm not saying no one's not trying. It's just early stages. You can do that in a season.
We interviewed we had one guy on here. I actually can't remember who it was, but I remember the conversation. It was saying just the run up into the season, the regular season, with some exhibitions with the Champions Hockey. Yeah, it's just too much. By the time you go into the season, you've already played like 15 games.
I think it was Casimir, wasn't it? And then he talked about, because obviously he was playing for Lettland, and in the SHL, they were in the Champions League and they were traveling down to fucking somewhere by bus, and it disrupts your season.
Lose 2 or 3 guys before the regular season starts.
Yeah, you can. And well, the Steelers had it this year where they lost their goalie playing 2-touch or whatever it was, seems he said, and he caught his finger, and that was it. That was the end of his season. And Guildford are being smart. They don't. Yeah, their owner's rich, but he doesn't want to just fucking spunk money for the sake of it. I actually, when it first came out, I was like, and I still would be. I still rightly would be disappointed if I was a Guildford fan, and the opportunity to play in Europe is right there, and then it's taken away.
But you read that statement.
But if you've been there from the fucking Solihull away days, getting spat on through the netting, and now you got the opportunity to be like playing with some of the big dogs in Europe. As a fan, of course you want that. But from the press release, I struggle to
take my hat off to him.
I struggle to pick an argument with it, mate.
Yeah, agreed.
They covered all bases. I think it was a very well worded thing, and it's obviously quite clearly not been a light decision.
No, definitely not.
They even said as much. Like if they'd won the cup and the fucking playoffs or something last year, then yeah, they probably would have went, because they can take that bit of a financial gamble. Because if they then come back and finish 6th in the Elite League, you go, well, but we got to the final of the Continental Cup. Well, you can kind of justify it a little bit.
Yeah.
But they don't have any trophies in the bank. So they quite rightly, they want to get some domestic silverware first. And I think it's a very good attitude to have.
Yeah, fair play for them for coming out so clear.
Yeah.
Fast, very fast response. A lot of people probably shot them down when they saw the news. You read the statement, and then I think a lot of people would actually change their mind and begin to reason with the organisation and their decision.
Do you reckon their knickers were in a twist a little bit, playing devil's advocate purely on the back of the fact that the Champions Hockey League came out and said, look, your facility isn't up to our standards, essentially. So even if you win the league, you're not going to be that. I think there's a little bit of like being pissed off with that. I don't know how much the European competitions are connected, if anything at all. I know obviously they're all IIHF.
I'm not really sure. I see where you're coming from. Sort of like, do you know what? Fuck you. Let's just get on with the domestic league and cup.
Stick it up your ass if we're not good enough for one competition.
And if so, fair play to them there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. If that is a reason, then fucking get it up. Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. But again, bravo Guildford, fair play to Kirk and the team that come out and addressed it in a situation where it's going to be tough for fans. Let's carry on. Have we got any more Elite League news?
We have got, so we touched on
some departures, actually. Some departures.
Yeah, we have a
big names.
Big departure from Belfast. Big departure. Well, there's been a couple. We've had, I'm going to butcher his name, Stephen Ulry.
Where's he gone?
He's from Giants. Did I get his name right? Ulry?
Yeah, I think so.
He's gone, well, of course, from the Giants to the Pioneers Vorarlberg in Austria. So
nice.
That's going to be good to see him here because he was a great player for Belfast, especially the end run.
Yeah.
Should I call it that? He was great there. And also we've got his teammate Sam Roop, who has gone to Lausitzer Füchse.
And Del 2.
Yes.
So we speculated whether he would go Del 2. We knew he was off to Germany, but it was unconfirmed where. We now know he's going there. I don't think that's this guy's ceiling either. No. I think a good year there, and perhaps someone does take a shot on him in a higher league. And we've spoke about imports using the Elite League as a stepping stone before. I had no issue with it. You come over and perform like the way those guys did for a year, and if you can get a bigger deal and better money, and what you have ambition to progress your career on, like the money you can make in Belfast, don't get me wrong, it won't be bad. He has a good year in the DL2 and gets promoted to the Del. The money you can make in the fucking Del is no joke. But Jay was saying guys are on 80, 100, 120, 140 bags.
Yeah.
Like maximum you're making in, and good pension and all the others, looked after.
And there's some solid imports in that league for a reason.
Yeah. And you compare that to what maybe might make 40 grand in the Elite League. And that's not necessarily him. I'm just saying as a rule.
Yeah.
And I don't imagine many guys will be making 40 grand over the eight month season, but that's an astronomical change in money if you can get it.
Yeah,
and using this league as that, I have no issue with. It was a bit different before, where you'd see guys come in and they'd come in until like fucking November and then they'd bounce. I don't like that, but I like the fact that you could use the Elite League now. And teams are going, oh, okay, that's a good league. There's some good players coming out of that league, and they're taking them to Europe. Well, we've seen it with some of the Brits as well. Some of the Brits getting opportunities out in Europe as well as the imports. So the Elite League, I think it's been a good thing.
I like to see this. I like to see guys from our league go over in the Del too. That's a great league. I'm sure a lot of the fans listening to this may have caught a game or two. It's a really good league to watch. I last season caught a couple of games. I would say there or thereabouts to the Elite League, really.
I'm looking forward to it. Me and you spoke about obviously going and watch the Del games this year, and potentially a Del 2 if we can line it up at the same sort of time. I'm intrigued to see it. Apparently, it's very well supported, and if you haven't listened to the Joey Lewis episode, go check that out when you're done with this one. Fantastic insight into German hockey, and from 3-year-olds to the Del and the pathway, and the support from the government and the support from the senior teams, and
you have a clear pathway, don't you, from the bottom to the top?
Yeah, and it's fantastic.
That'd be great to see that in the UK, where you've got a clear pathway.
And that Oberliga, the third league there, is a very good league. There's still some absolute studs playing it, some good imports playing in it. And that allows some of these younger guys then to progress on to the Del 2, and then from the Del 2 to the Del. It's a really good pathway. It was interesting listening to Joey talk about it. So go check that episode out right now. Let's go to the National League, because the big news is obviously, and we won't talk much about this because there's another video that's already out on our page, Solway Sharks to the National. But yeah, the Sharks have gone to the National. Craig Peacock has been announced as GM. The one thing that obviously we speculated, obviously knowing that Barry's going there, didn't want to give too much away in the video, but Yeah, Barry McKenzie is Craig Peacock and Grubby's first signing as a partnership. And what a signing that is. Barry's going to be very good in that league. He brings an experienced head, hundreds of elite league games. Can't believe we still haven't looked that up since we did that video. But yeah, he put a nice message out on Twitter thanking all the Flyers fans and stuff like that. But he's going home to Dumfries, back to where it all started. And I'm happy for him. It's going to be nice for his family. I know they're going to like seeing him play a bit closer to home. And we're going to get another elite league talent. Barry's going to get back among some goals and some points, which will be nice for him. Obviously, been used in much more of a defensive role in the elite league. He's going to get a lot more reps on the park, and he's going to get put in a lot more danger situations. And don't be surprised to see him bag a few points this year.
Off the back of a tough season in Fife, he's going to go to Solway, clean start. So much experience under his belt, as we've said, a phenomenal amount of games and teams, and he's so phenomenal. Great announcement for Solway, and really like what he's going to bring there to the organization going forwards. I think that really is the kind of, when you're going into a new league, a signing like Barry McKenzie is exactly what a locker room needs, both on and off the ice.
We forgot one in the elite league, kind of a big one. The Giants coaching staff are back, because there was speculation. Would Keith go to Europe? Would he stick around? Well, he stuck around. Rob Stewart stuck around. Not sure if they've announced their other assistant coaches yet. They kind of seem to be drip feeding it a little bit, but that's going to be great news for you Giants fans. I'm pumped that Keith's staying in the league.
He's what the league needs.
He's great value. He's great entertainment. He's passionate. He's obviously a winner. Look at his playing and his coaching resume. It's a joke. So many trophies. And yeah, I'm glad, and I'm sure the Elite League people are glad that he's decided to stick around. Sorry, let's bounce back down to the NIHL. Our boy Owen Dale, he's in for the charity game, obviously, but he's also in for a two-way with the Invicta Dynamos and the Romford Raiders. I would be surprised if that two-way doesn't turn into a one-way very, very quickly.
I was seeing it that way. I think Invicta get first call. Am I right in that release? Did I read that correct? But I can see, Raiders.
We know how that works.
Yeah,
we know that, and that's Owen's obviously the Invicta kid, so there's the romance side of it. But he's also ambitious, and he wants to play at the highest level. And I think when they see him play at that level and realize that he's going to fit right in here, then he's gonna be there or thereabouts. That being said, Sean did with Marco and TJ, he let them play a lot of games in the NIHL 1, but then when they came up, they got ice. So will he allow Owen to have another year playing both leagues, a bit more development? I'm intrigued. I would obviously like to see Owen play at the highest level possible, but I don't want Invicta fans to be like at him and like, shut up, we want to keep him. I get it. But the idea is to get our players playing at the highest level. And we spoke about it on a podcast I did with him. And, is the Elite League in his future? He would like it to be, but he knows where he is right now and he knows what he needs to do to get there. So
respect that.
Yeah.
Not jumping the gun. He knows his progression and he needs to work his way in whatever way works for him. And yeah, I think Invicta would be sad if they lost him. Of course, you've just lost an absolute stud of a player, but at the same time, you wish him well. He's gone up to a higher level. I think there's no bitterness. Shouldn't really be any bitterness when you're jumping up a level to improve your game. If you go into a rival team in the same league, for example, then you sort of can think sideways move.
Fans can be a little bit like cheesed off,
Yeah, but going to Raiders, I mean, that's great. And he links up with TJ Anderson well, so let's go.
It's a good move. Probably one of the bigger movements of the summer so far. Juha has officially now been announced as a Bristol Pitbull. Some player this kid is. He was our player of the year on the podcast. Yeah, a young player of the year on the podcast last season. Phenomenal talent. And the way he, can finish pucks in tight. He's very good in his skates. Strong for a smaller structure player. Yeah, he's really good, and Bristol Pitbulls have got a good one. They've obviously lost Kelly Robertson. We don't know where he's going as of yet. Speculation of Leeds, speculation of MK.
That's a huge loss, by the way.
Yeah, and I think
What a
Yuha
player.
they've lost him, but then you bring in
Yeah,
Rouse and
you
they bring
guys
in
amazing.
Yuha.
Yeah,
There's some goals in those boys right there.
very
It's going
true.
to be a very different look Bristol team next year. Obviously, they've kept Harewood and they've kept Owen, and they've kept a few boys, but it sounds like there's going to be a lot of changes, and we know that some of the other guys are shipping out. So interesting to see how Bristol do this year and how they complete the roster. What other two imports they announce, what goalies they announce. We know there's going to be some changes down that way, and yeah, Bristol are going to be phenomenal, I think.
Yeah, I like the route they've actually gone down there. They've got Yuha, who could really shine at Bristol.
Yeah,
Could be one of their sort of go-to players within the roster as the season progresses. I think people will realise just what he brings, another year under his belt as well. And Bristol have got some great signings. You've got Sobchuk there for another year as well,
yeah,
without injury. Touch wood, that's going to be great to see him with a full schedule under his belt. With what they're building around themselves now, like you say, they've lost some great players, but they've recruited well.
they have recruited very well. Chris Wilcox back at Hull as well, player assistant for Matty. Obviously, veteran there, and another wily leader. He's interesting to see. I didn't realize that he was assistant coach last year, and he's back as an assistant this year. So perhaps that's another guy that's going to step into the coaching roles once his playing days are done, which is what we want. We want more guys. You hear in the Rupert Quiney interview that we want more British coaches staying involved in the game, and if Wilcox is assistant now, chances are he then stays once he's done playing and stays involved in the game, and that's a good thing. Hopefully, we can get more guys doing it. We're actually going to make a video purely on that subject at some stage, because Roop had some good ideas, and we talked off air. And realized, fuck, maybe we should have talked about this on air. There were some really good ideas flowing, and we're going to bring them to you in a video format at some point over the next couple of days here as a bit of content. I think it will open up a lot of eyes, and hopefully opens up a lot of ears on the board, and they take some of it and run with it, because there's some brilliant ideas that we talked about. But let's go back on topic. Who else have we got?
Back at the Raiders with you've just about to
go.
So we've got Jacob Ransom back and Jake Sylvester at the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
Again, two guys that you want back. Ransom is one of those guys that really sort of annoys you.
He's a try-hard. He works his bag off. It's fucking annoying.
Yeah.
Annoying as shit.
Yeah.
Just always there on the back check. Do you know what I mean? Just like doesn't give up.
The kind of guy you want on your roster. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to play against him. That's a pain in the ass. And then Sylvester, the kid could snipe. I like him. I've liked him for a long time. I think he's a great player. And very, very good re-signing. Raiders are looking good again.
Like to see them.
They're putting some good pieces in there. The addition of Norcliffe when you lose Gulliver is huge.
Yeah.
Like George is going to do a very good job there. Interesting to see how George plays doing the travel, because it's not an easy travel gig up there. But he's a hell of a player. Let's look at who else has gone back. So Joe Gretton's gone back to the Phantoms, adds a bit of toughness there. Got the cup winner last year, so an experienced winner on the roster. And then Rio's back at MK. Rio Grinnell, for anyone that doesn't know, kid can wheel. He is lightning out there. He's just getting better the older he gets. He's improving all the time. And yeah, what a talent. Good signing for MK.
He's got that character as well, hasn't he? Again, like we said with Ransom, Grinnell Park is really pisses you off to watch, but you absolutely love the role that he plays.
Yeah,
that's all I can say.
If you got him on your team, you love that kind of hustle and bustle. One more in the national, and then we've got a couple in the NIHL. One, Jordan Griffin back at Leeds. Solid re-signing for them. They just keep adding the same pieces that they already had. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly.
Like,
There's no other way to word it. We said
there
it at the
isn't.
start. We're
Yeah.
going to keep saying it.
Well, they lost Barry. He's gone to Hull, but really they've kept that core together. We haven't heard if Howlett's come back yet, but I imagine he's going to be on the re-sign list. Barnsley was back last week. You know, they're just adding all the big pieces. Hayward was back, Shudra was back, Brownie's back, Gospel's back, and now they're just going to keep adding guys like this back. And Leeds are going to be the team to beat again next year.
Dream team.
Yeah, love it. Couple, so one in the north, one in the south. Tom Banner left the Bison, obviously, as they are no longer there, and Shane Moore's taking him down to Oxford. Smart move for Banner. Going to go down there. He's going to play a lot of minutes. Going to play a lot of special teams and stuff like that. He'll be ready to step if the ice rink's ready next year. He'll be ready to step straight back to the Bison. This will probably be a good thing for him. He's going to get used in a lot of situations that he maybe didn't get used at the National League level. It's just going to be good for his progression. And then we've got Bobby Streetley leaving Hull and going to join Graham's boys, the Blackburn Hawks. Shout out producer Graham.
Yeah.
But yeah, so obviously Osmond knows what he's getting with Streetley. Dom's just announced he's gone back there at him and Lomax for another 3 years. So when we had Dom on the podcast, he talked about building this thing that's going to be able to continue to go. And adding pieces like that's going to help. Interesting what the Tony Hand factor brings to the league next year and that NIHL 1 North. Obviously, Solway not being in the league as well. There's going to be some teams that fancy winning that league next year now.
It kind of, Solway has done a favour, like, in a way, Solway coming up because they deserve to be up. And the gap that they bridged between second and first place, the fact they hadn't lost a home game in like 2 years or something like that, they need to not be in that league. So I know we keep speaking about it, but when you think about it now, that National North has just become really competitive between those teams. Like you say, Tony Hand there. What a season that's going to be.
Well, it's going to give the Northern fans something to shout about, because realistically, if you're not putting your rose tints on as a fan and you're in that NIHL 1 South League and you're in that NIHL 1 North League, in September last year, you're going, it's Stretham's to lose, it's Solway's to lose. We're basically playing for second place in both leagues. Like, that factor's gone in the North.
Yeah. You could say that to an extent with Streatham. They're going to have a very, very strong side, but they've also lost some big names.
Vanny's gone.
That's such a hard guy to. He's irreplaceable in that level. At that level.
This guy says hello, everybody. Yeah, they can't replace Vanny really. He's irreplaceable. But I think that's kind of all the news. We've got little bits of World Championships talk. Obviously, Kazakhstan yesterday won their 5th shootout in the last 5 times they've been to shootout in Pool A, they've won, that's a mad stat. Because shootouts,
I'm not surprised.
It's a proper lottery though, isn't it? A shootout, and to win 5 straight at any level is phenomenal. To win it at the World Champs is mental.
The way they did it last night was ridiculous. Their penalty shots were just
still
phenomenal.
Haven't seen them yet.
Just unbelievable. I just couldn't believe what I was watching. They were just, all the guys, when they had their penalty shots, had smiles on their faces. They just didn't feel any pressure at all. They looked like they had so much fun out there.
We speculated and we talked about who would get relegated or who we would want to get relegated. Currently in Group A, after 5 games, or 5 games for most teams, 4 for a couple, Hungary sit in 7th place. Austria sit in 8th place. Hungary have 2 points. Austria have a point. France sit just above them. They're on 4 points. And then it goes into Germany. Now, in the other division, Slovakia sit in 5th, Kazakhstan in 6th, Norway in 7th, and Slovenia in 8th. Now, Slovenia were 2-0 up against Czech, and they looked very good. And then they played Latvia, and it was 3-2. They looked pretty good in that game as well. That being said, it's the teams that we talked about getting relegated that are in that mix right now. Let's
just say, though, Slovenia, correct me if I'm wrong, has something like 7 ice rinks in the whole country.
Yeah, it's not many.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's not many at all. So for them to even be at that top table is phenomenal. And they competed. The probably the best team so far has been Switzerland. They played
Surprisingly as well.
4 games, 4 wins, 3 shutouts. Their goalie didn't let in a goal for, was it 10, 11? Just under 11 periods. I don't know, 6 minutes shy of 11 periods. What? Like, we was impressed with Bouncy's shutouts at 1A. This guy's doing this
Doing it in
guy's
the top
doing it
division.
in the top division, which is just a straight savagery position. Canada sits second, Czech and third. So the usual suspects are going to be going there. And then it's going to be interesting in that other division between France and Denmark, who gets not between France and Denmark. Let's try that again. Between Denmark and Germany, who gets that 4th spot, the final quarterfinal space.
Germany.
USA is sitting 4 from 4. Sweden 11 points. They've obviously won 4 games, but one of them coming in OT. Finland, they've not been as good as normal. 3 wins and 1 OT loss. They picked up points in 4 out of the 5 games. Who would you say right now has the best chance of winning it?
I think USA.
USA have looked very good. They've got a young team. They look fast, really fast. They
Yeah.
got some guys that can put the puck in the net.
I don't want them to win it, by the way. I just think
still
that
like,
they'll win it.
Still like Sweden.
I would love to see. Yeah, I always like to go one of the European nations.
Yeah, I'd like to see Sweden do it. They look very good, and they're just attractive hockey to watch. Germany, I think if they can get in there, they might. If the groups were to finish with Germany in 4th, and Switzerland in 1st in the opposite division, that would be a game in the quarterfinal.
Yeah,
that would be a fucking hockey game. Like, the Swiss game against Slovakia was so chippy. For a double IIHF game, it was mad. After every whistle, cross check, shove, face, punch, slash. It was intense. What a game of hockey. If you're not already watching these games on YouTube, do yourself a favor. They're free. Tune in. Summer hockey, some of the best hockey you'll ever watch, and a bit of a whistle wetter for Czech Republic next year when GB fly out to take on these mutant countries and try our best to stay in that division once again, which, if we keep progressing, I don't see why we won't.
Why not? Why not? We can always compete with those lower end sides. So as long as we can take the points off them,
yeah, sneak a little OT loss or something against one of the big dogs.
Yeah,
those extra points, those shootout losses, those OT losses, those extra points against, I don't know, maybe it's, let's have a look at those teams again. Maybe it's Denmark, maybe it's Norway, whoever it may be.
It'd be nice to give Denmark a better. I know you always went on about it when you were in Košice, but to play against Denmark and show them where actually we can play. We just had a really shit game in that one.
Yeah, I was there. It was painful to watch.
But that wasn't, something just wasn't, I know this is years ago, but just something wasn't clicking in that game.
No, nothing was
just
clicking.
That wasn't a GB performance,
No.
Something was way off.
Yeah.
And I think we mean business when we're there. For our level, we're not going to go and thrash Canada. I'd love to see us do it. And if we do it, then I'll take my hat off. But
yeah,
as long as we can, Austria, Latvia. I mean, Latvia are one of those sides. They're either really good or average.
They've looked good in this tournament so far.
Yeah. Is that the home advantage? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It just gives you that 4 or 5% kick up the ass. Which, if you look at their games, they're not blowing teams away, but they're winning 3-2 or 2-1 or whatever it may be. Malikins isn't even playing. The other guy's playing. You've got NIHL goalie sitting on the fucking bench. Like, they're good, but I think we can compete with them. Well, we proved. I know it was warm-up games and it wasn't full sides, and we probably added a couple of guys in, and they added a couple of guys in. They took some out, and we took some out. But we competed with them no problem in the pre-tournament warm-ups. 1-1, lost 1. So beat Hungary twice. I was laughing about that with my missus the other day. I was like, Hungary are warming up for Pool A, playing GB. So that'll warm you up real good for fucking playing like Canada and Sweden and that. It's not the, I don't know, it's kind of a thing. Realistically, if you're going to be playing against those teams, you want to warm up where you're not really going to touch the puck, because that's what Pete said it before. Like before the 1A, we're going to have to change what we do, because we're going to have the puck a lot more in that 1A than we're ever going to have when we play against Canada, Russia, whoever it may be, one of them big countries. I know it's not Russia right now, but they've been in prior tournaments. You're not expected to have the puck in the offensive zone for 11 minutes of a 20-minute period against those teams. You might have it. You might have it down there for 3 minutes if you're lucky, if you get a PP or something. But there's going to be a lot of the game spent on the transition and try to get the puck out of your defensive zone, because these teams are just offensively stacked.
I've got to say though, I know they've got. I'm speaking about Austria's national team here. I know they've got Marco Rossi. They haven't got Casper in the side this year. Marco Rossi is just a phenomenal talent.
He's
Barring
legit.
him, when you see the way we are as nations, I've always ranked GB around Austria's level. Austria obviously didn't go down because of that game, and to see them this season with another year of the top division under their belt, they look great. Like, I know that their bottom sat on 1 point, but they played Germany last night. They were unreal. They were really, really good. Their play has progressed so much. And I just see like GB in the same mold.
What did that finish? I watched it up until it was 3-1.
That was 4-2, but with an empty netter.
Yeah, so I watched up until 3-1.
It was a really close game. Really, honestly, that game was close. And they competed in that game. I'm trying to remember who they played the game before, but I watched that, and again, they were really good. And yeah, like I said, I just see GB going in that mold, and there's no reason, barring Marco Casper and Rossi in there. Like, we have some really good players, and we can progress like they are. I mean, they are 1 point on the bottom, but in terms of ability, I think they've really changed their game, and sort of their plays just become a lot more fun to watch. And they're not chasing the puck as much as they used to. You know, you watch these games and they're just being dominated. But that Germany game, I mean, I know they have that like being neighbours and they've got that sort of rivalry there. They've really not looked so out of place. I think their ability levels definitely increased.
I'm just having a look now when Austria. So on the 22nd of May, Austria take on Hungary. That's going to be a massive game.
But Austria should. I know Hungary, again, that's another rivalry there. But Austria should win that, really. Given the way that they've played the last 2 games, they should. No disrespect to Hungary. They've got a couple of players I like, but Austria should win that.
Yeah, I think Austria will win that based on the performances so far. And Hungary haven't been bad.
They beat France.
Yeah, they kept Sweden pretty tight for a couple of minutes there, and then before you know it, they end up losing 7-1, because you know that's what the Swedes can do to you. But they looked competitive in the early stages of that game. They looked competitive in other games as well. It's a have and have not in that tournament, though, isn't it? Like when you got like Sweden taking on Hungary, like Hungary are not expected to win. They're really not expected to win, but the Hungarians will fancy their chances against Austria, and likewise, the Austrians are going to fancy their chances against Hungary. It's going to be a barn burner, I reckon.
Hopefully, I'm available to watch that. It'll be unreal.
Yeah, I think that's going to be for all the marbles. Whoever loses, that's going down.
Yeah.
Even though Hungary currently sit on 2 points and Austria sit on 1.
Ooh, that's what an overtime win does, that though, doesn't it? That just shows getting that overtime. Yeah. Just what it can do, and beating France. Fair play to Hungary for doing it, but honestly, when you compare the 2 sides, Austria better. And I'm not saying that because I live here and I have a soft spot. I'm generally saying that as a neutral. I'm shocked.
I think they're better.
Yeah.
We've seen that when we've played against the nations ourselves. We played against Austria. I thought we competed very well. I've said it on here before, but we took 5 minutes off and absolutely.
That's it. They changed the game. That was it. We were evenly matched with Austria, if not having the edge.
I thought we had the edge up until that moment, and then 5-minute capitulation, and we ended up losing the game. And then we've obviously seen Farmer score the goal in Hungary that got us promoted to the top table the first time round. And then we've seen them come over here and beat us in the Olympic qualifier. But then we've just seen them over here twice in the summer, and we beat them twice. So we've got a pretty good idea of what those nations are like, and I think we stack up very well against both of them. But one of them isn't going to be there next year, so we're only going to have to worry about playing against one of them and turning them over. But we've rambled on for quite a while. It's been a roundup of national, elite, worlds, bit of everything. Big Group is going to be playing in the charity game, if you didn't hear that on his episode. So there's your latest sign in for the 4,000 and counting charity game. Go to ticketlab.co.uk/4,000 counting. Get your tickets there. Concessions, family tickets, adult tickets, it's all on there. We'll be doing more kind of announcements round about now. We didn't want to put too many out too early because then everyone will forget. But we're getting to that stage
with
now.
Plenty.
Where the game's about 75 days away, so we're going to start being like drip feeding more bits and pieces out. The jersey designs are going to be out as soon as Ali sends them to me. Ooh. The jerseys are going to be sick.
Yeah,
I'm buzzing for you guys to see them. We do still have a couple of 4,000 counting jerseys available. Just go on our social media, they're right there. A couple of Bainstoke Bulldogs ones, let's get rid of them. We're going to have one of my shirts going on raffle later on this weekend. So look out for that. Couple of quid a ticket. Let's raise some money so me and Mark can crack on with our European tour next year. There's lots of stuff that we want to do on this channel to bring to you, but those things cost money, so we're selling our shit. Mark needs some new headphones as well. He just broke his headphones, so we need to raise some dough. With that being said, you can go to buymeacoffee/4,000 count and help us out there. If you can't do that, you can help us out massively by hitting the subscribe button, hitting the like button, sharing these videos, sharing them out to all your friends, tag them up on YouTube. Let's keep sharing this thing. We're almost at that 1,000 subscriber mark that we've been chasing since April. When did we start redoing this? March, yeah, mid-March. So we kind of set a target of 1,000 followers by the start of the season. Well,
yeah, that was the target.
We want it now. We're right there. We're close.
So close. And honestly, we've really got some great guys lined up.
Yeah, wicked guys. I can't wait to get into some more interviews. But for now, peace.